Guten Tag, Leute. Heute auf dem Sendung JAYEMM mit Autos. Ich fahre den Volkswagen Typ 181. Bewusst dem Amis als The Thing und dem Britischen als The Trekker. This channel, I like to think, is a repository of not just information, but memories for me. I have been very fortunate enough to drive sports cars. I've driven saloon cars, classic cars, new cars, fast cars, slow cars, supercars, SUVs, you name it, I've driven it. However, when it comes to West German radio cars, I will admit the content has been a little bit lacking over the last 7 years. Today, I hope to remedy that problem by driving this, the VW Type 181, known to the Americans as the Thing, and here in Britain as the Trekker. I'm sure more than a few of you have looked at this and gone, James, you're driving a Kübelwagen. Well, no, I'm not. That, in case you're not familiar, is the World War II era little German sort of scout car type thing. They're equivalent to the Willy's Jeep. This is its spiritual successor and is comprised of many different VW components, including the floor pan of a Karmann gear and the running gear of a split-screen camper van. The official designation is the VW Type 181, and that applies to left-hand drive variants. The right-hand drive UK-based Trekker was the Type 182. In the USA, they called it the Thing. In Indonesia, it was known as the Kamat. In Mexico, the Safari. And in Italy, the Pescaccia. Out the back, you'll find a 1.5-litre flat-4 air-cooled VW engine producing, allegedly, 46 horsepower. It's mated to a 4-speed manual gearbox. Despite a curb weight of just some 900 kilos, it has a top speed of just 50 miles an hour, give or take. This is on account of the fact that it has what is known as portal axles, a very simple but elegant device that essentially raises the running gear of the car and simultaneously gives you greater ground clearance, essential for this type of vehicle, and also reduces the speed at which you can travel, which might not sound like a particularly desirable thing. However, for a vehicle that is going to spend quite a bit of time off-road, being able to travel at very, very low speeds, essentially walking pace without having to ride the clutch, is very useful indeed. These were produced from 1968 until the mid-80s and saw service all over the world. The vast majority of them were produced and used in West Germany, as it was known at the time, and the British also bought quite a few too, though I'm told they weren't really that big a fan of them. As is traditional for vehicles of this type, it is designed to be extremely simple, but also dependable and highly customizable to be able to fit the needs of wherever it was deployed. So, you have 2 independent seats up the front, which do actually have lap belts. You've got a bench in the rear, which is supported by a very simple spring arrangement, under which you'll find the battery. The doors are all essentially interchangeable, certainly from front to back. Only the front actually have locks. The car is essentially a convertible and can be driven top up or down. The windows are very simple pieces with plastic inners that do degrade fairly quickly and can be easily removed, as I have today. And if you want, you can even fold the screen down Willy's Jeep style as well. Though if you do that, you get quite a bit of wind in the face, and for today, I've forgone that, so you can actually have some chance of hearing me. The controls are very basic: pedals, gear lever, and handbrake where you'd expect them. You have just one lever on the column, that is for the indicators, which do not self-cancel. And over to the left, you've got the controls for your lights. The brakes are a little bit lethargic in their response. It is best to send a telegram ahead of actually requiring them, but once they respond, they actually do work fairly well. The car has enough handling prowess in the corners that I did actually want to put the seatbelt on, as little good as it's likely to do me in the event of an accident. That's because the seats really don't hug you in any way, shape or form, and so even mild cornering does have you feeling like you're going to be sliding out of the vehicle. Perhaps that's because I'm not exactly built to 1970s West German army regulations. The steering wheel does have an element of play, I would say, but actually it works well enough and is very similar to many vehicles of this type that I've driven. I have to say, I was worried it would be a fairly difficult thing to pilot, but That's not the case at all. It's really, really quite pleasant. You wouldn't want to drive it on the motorway if for no other reason than it just can't do the speed required to be safe and sensible. The speedo here is still in kph, and anything up to about 70 or so, it's fairly happy. Beyond that, it is struggling, and it's not an exactly pleasant place to be. As the engine is at the back, your stowage space is up the front, which currently includes a spare tyre, the fuel tank, a spare fuel can, and also the auxiliary heater, which is non-functional. Helping you work out where the gears are is a little diagram down here, and it's actually fairly accurate. So first is over there, second is over there, third is over there, fourth is over there, and then to get into reverse you push down and over. In all honesty, I have driven much more modern cars with far less cooperative gearboxes. It's actually really quite nice. You have 3 mirrors, which is also a novelty for this sort of thing, and if you were really brave, you could actually drive it just doors off for the full experience, but I'm not that brave. I'll go and say that, yeah. Placing it is very easy because it's all square and you've got this sort of bull bar type things that I've used to mount cameras on, but help you place the car perfectly. However, off-road antics are limited by the fact that unlike the Schwimmwagen and the Willy's Jeep, this is strictly 2-wheel drive. And this being a 1970s German army car, the options list is a little different to what you might be used to. There are no fancy carpets, there is no contrast stitching, there is no dual zone climate control, there isn't even Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. However, usefully for a radio car, it does still have the original antenna, present and correct, and should things get spicy, you've got a hard point for a machine gun too. I love old-fashioned options lists, and you know what, I gotta say, the best thing about cars like this, first off, you just don't care about going fast. You really don't. Doing 30 mile an hour, actually not even 30, I'm doing 40 kph, and I'm having the time of my life. You also get the best reception from locals. We actually got a wave out of someone driving a 911. That is so rare. That never happens. 911 owners are so miserable. Well, I have to be careful. I keep folding up the throttle pedal. The face of it just, I think, can get lifted off. That's a bit terrifying. And we even had an older gent come and chat to us while we were setting up in the pub car park. I have to admit, I was a little bit worried because I thought it was going to be a kind of Father Ted moment, because the guy almost seemed disappointed when he found out it wasn't an ex-Nazi Kübelwagen. And at this point in the video, I would like to say, if you happen to have another piece of old military stuff, I would like a go. If that's being offered, I would love to have a go, because this is just a delight. I really enjoy broadening my horizons. I probably didn't need to change down a gear there. Honestly, you get it into 4th and that's pretty much you sorted. And this is great. I love it. One thing that really has taken me by surprise, the ride quality is actually quite good. Having spent a lot of time in Land Rover Defenders, which are about as far from comfortable as I can possibly imagine, this is great. It's an S-Class by comparison. James bought this 18 years ago as a drunken eBay purchase, but to be honest, I would happily buy one of these stone cold sober, which is just as well because I don't drink. Over the years, he's done what has been required in order to keep the car going, and mostly that's just meant fairly normal maintenance. As many of the parts are interchangeable with various different VWs, that's meant that most of the general running costs have been fairly low. The engine also, should you want to, you could replace with just about any other VW Flat 4. His initial intention was to modify this, but to date, the only thing he's changed is the wheels, because the original steel ones were gone. They were no longer safe, so he's got these kind of Fuchs replicas on it that actually, I think, suit it quite well. And anyone who knows me will know that I hate putting Fuchs on just about anything, but I like this a lot. The car will soon be due a restoration because rust is starting to take hold in a few little places, but the vast majority of it is purely cosmetic. Mechanically, the car is actually not all that bad. Today, to get yourself into one of these, people seem to be asking about the sort of £16,000 mark, which I suppose is kind of difficult to really call good or bad value because, well, if you wanted a hot hatch, you can get something a lot quicker than this. Well, actually, no, ignore that. If you wanted any kind of car, it's going to be a lot quicker than this for 1/10 of the money. but it's probably not going to be as fun. I often think about getting an old Bentley or something as a pub car, but actually, I wonder if Nan would mind taking the Courierwagen down to the Half Moon. Come on, old girl. Don't tell me I need third. Come on, I just told all the boys and girls at home I don't ever need third. What's he going? Nah, she's pulling. We're doing all right. We're only doing 50 now in a 60. I like this thing so much. It's just relaxing. It really is. In fact, I think it's pretty fair to say that in the process of filming this, I have spoken to more people than I have for just about any other car I've ever featured. And that, to me, makes it priceless. And before I go, one last thing. I have no idea how many people are going to watch this video. I suspect fairly few. So, if you've got this far, hopefully that means you've enjoyed the video. And I would be super grateful if you would share it, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, because it makes things like this possible. And for that, I will be forever grateful to you, to James, this car's owner, and to everybody else who's been part of the channel over the last 7 years. So, with that in mind, a big thanks, and I'll see you all for the next one. Bye-bye.